Today, we're going to dive into a way of seeing the world that finds the entire universe in a single grain of sand. A system that sees a profound, unbreakable link between your own consciousness and, well, everything. We're talking about the Indian Knowledge System, or IKS. We're going to unpack what it is, where it came from, and why its ancient vision might just be more relevant today than ever before.
So what on earth is IKS? A great way to think about it is not as a subject you'd study, but more like a civilization's unique operating system. It's a whole framework for seeing, understanding, and interacting with reality itself.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll kick things off by defining what IKS actually is. Then we'll journey thousands of years back in time to trace its ancient roots. From there, we'll dig into its core idea, this concept of philosophy as a way of seeing. After that, we'll check out how different schools of thought saw things differently. And finally, we'll bring it all into the modern world and ask, so what? Why does any of this still matter?
Okay, let's get right into it. To really wrap our heads around IKS, we've got to break down the name itself. Each word, Indian, knowledge, and system, means something very specific here. This breaks it down perfectly. First up, Indian. Now, we're not talking about today's political borders. This refers to a massive historical and cultural area known as Akhanda Bharat. Next, knowledge. This isn't just about facts in a book. It's a rich blend of wisdom from direct personal experience, ancient texts like the Vedas, and crucially, oral traditions passed down from teacher to student for generations. And finally, system. This is the glue that holds it all together. It's a framework that connects everything, from spirituality to science, from medicine to music, and shows how they're all related in one big, coherent picture.
All right, now that we know what it is, let's talk about where it comes from. And you got to understand, we're talking about roots that go incredibly deep, anchored in thousands of years of history and some of the oldest scriptures known to humanity. Just look at this timeline. It gives you a sense of the incredible timescale we're dealing with. The story really kicks off around 4500 BCE with the Sarasvati-Sindhu Civilization. This is where the Vedas, the foundational root texts of IKS, began to take shape. Then much later, you get the Upanishads. Think of these as the philosophical deep dives into the Vedas, unpacking the mystical wisdom hidden in those ancient hymns and asking huge questions about reality and the nature of the self. Now, those root texts, the Vedas, it's not just one book. It's actually 4 different collections, and each one kind of has its own job. You've got the Rig Veda, which is full of hymns and prayers to the gods. The Samaveda takes those hymns and sets them to music for rituals. The Yajurveda is like the instruction manual, with the specific prose mantras for ceremonies. And then there's the Atharva Veda, which is just fascinating. It's packed with spells, charms, and practical wisdom for everyday life. So with that history in place, we can now get to the really juicy part, the philosophical heart of IKS. And it's not what you might expect. It's less about abstract thinking and more about a fundamental shift in how you see everything. And this is a huge concept. The Sanskrit word for philosophy is darshan. But here's the thing. Its literal translation is to see or perception. And that one word tells you everything you need to know. In this system, philosophy isn't just a mental game. It's a direct, practical way of perceiving reality. So IKS basically says there are 2 ways to see the world. The first is what we all do every day. Let's call it gross vision. It's what our physical eyes show us, a world of separate things, a tree here, a river there, you and me. But it suggests there's another way to see, a subtle vision. This isn't seeing with your eyes, it's seeing with your inner eye, the eye of knowledge. And this vision looks right past the illusion of separation and perceives the incredible underlying unity that connects all of existence. And what's the ultimate goal of developing that subtle vision? Well, it's to directly experience this absolutely profound truth, which is the central teaching of the Upanishads, that your individual consciousness, your deepest self, what they call Atman, is not just connected to the ultimate reality of the cosmos or Brahman. It is one and the same. It's all summed up in one of the most powerful and famous phrases from the Upanishads, Tat Tvam Asi. It simply means, thou art that. Think about that. It's not a metaphor. It's a direct statement. It's saying that you, your essential being, are not just a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean.
Now, when you have an idea that big, that mind-bending, people are going to interpret it in different ways, right? And that's exactly what happened. It led to several major schools of philosophy, each with its own path to understanding that ultimate truth. So you basically get two major camps that emerged. On one hand, you have Advaita, which means non-dualism. For them, it's absolute. Your soul and the ultimate reality, Brahman, are one and the same, period. The separate world we see is an illusion, or Maya. And freedom, or liberation, is simply waking up to that fact, realizing the oneness. But on the other hand, you have Dvaita, or dualism. They see it differently. They argue that your soul and Brahman are eternally separate. For them, the world is very real, and liberation isn't about merging into one. It's about devotion and getting closer to the divine.
All right, let's bring all this home. We've talked ancient history, deep philosophy, but why should any of this matter to us today, in our fast-paced modern world?
And this leads to a really amazing and maybe surprising connection. Where would you least expect to find a nod to this ancient wisdom? How about at CERN, the home of particle physics? Right at the entrance, there's a statue of Shiva as Nataraja, the cosmic dancer. It's this incredible acknowledgement that Shiva's dance, which is a metaphor for the universe's endless cycle of creation and destruction, actually mirrors what modern physics tells us about the energetic, dynamic, constantly changing quantum world. This sense of deep interconnection also blossoms into a really powerful ethical idea, and it's summed up beautifully in the phrase Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It means the world is one family. And if you think about it, it's the natural conclusion of that non-dual philosophy. If we are all fundamentally expressions of the same one reality, then the whole idea of an other starts to fade, and you realize we're all in this together.
And so that's the question we're left with, isn't it? If we really took on this subtle vision, if we started to genuinely feel this deep interconnectedness in our daily lives, how would that change things? How might it reshape how we treat each other, how we build our societies, and how we care for our planet? It's an ancient way of seeing with some very, very modern questions.